All right. Here we go. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Episode 2 of the podcast. Episode 1 has gotten a lot of attention. So thank you for all those of you who shared it and commented and interacted professionally, respectfully. Appreciate that. Most of the people interacting and engaging were respectful, so thank you to that. Want to start off tonight talking about something that I promised in a follow-up that I would talk about regarding the Daunte Wright shooting in or near Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center. As we all know by now, the officer involved, Kim Potter, has resigned and is now being charged with criminal charges. I believe it was second-degree manslaughter. So there's a couple of things I want to make sure I touch on because there are people who had some questions about some of the intricacies of this incident. So I want to make sure I follow up on it. So had a lot of great questions. And what I want to do is I want to invite you, if you have questions during this live broadcast, go ahead and throw them in the comments. Now, just so you know, this ends up on the YouTube channel. It's going to end up on podcast platforms. So those of you who are listening, this is originally recorded on a Facebook Live. So one of the things I'll declare right now is, if you hear me going back over certain things and going back over certain topics and reiterating certain points, it's because I can see in real time when new people are joining the broadcast. So when I see a large amount of new people joining the podcast and joining into the live video, they're coming in maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes in. So that's why I do it. So if you've ever watched an infomercial, you see that the infomercial is repetitive. Why? Because the infomercial is running for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And that's why they show you the same chopping demo that the little kitchen gizmo can do 25 times. Because people join the infomercial at different points, so they just kind of keep reiterating the same points. So for those of you who are watching live, sometimes it's like, oh, wait a second. But, I'm doing it for the people who are joining in later. Now, of course, you could listen in. Eventually, you're going to be able to listen in on iTunes and some of the other podcast platforms. However, right now, you'll be able to see this. And then the team takes this video and puts it on YouTube. And then they'll add in different things. They'll add in clips like today's live that you're watching right now. When you see it on YouTube, probably 24 hours from now, you're going to see different clips added in. All right. So you're going to see, it's almost going to have a different experience. But if you hear me talking about people commenting, things like that, here you go. All right. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can see some of the comments, because some of you have some great questions and I want to respect that and try to address them. But I'm going to start off by addressing the biggest thing that people were, let me say, not upset, but almost kind of like bent out of shape for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I was advised by all the tech people on how to do this. Whether it's going to work, I don't know. So I'm going to make sure that this is done properly. And if I can do this correctly, I'll see if I could get this going. And I want to make sure that I'm not going over myself. Okay, so here we go. I don't know if I could see the comments, but I will do my best to get this going. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so we got a lot of people here. His record and his behavior. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you guys the facts that have now been verified, because there's a lot of things that have been kind of floating out there about his record, right? His record about first of all, his criminal record, what it entailed. There's some stuff being made up. There's some stuff being fabricated, and that's not fair. So let's set the record straight with the facts. How about that? Okay. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. Let's get to it. Before we get to it, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know city and state that you're tuning in from. And if you're tuning in from outside this great nation, let us know. We love all of our international listeners and viewers. So thank you all. Let's get into it. And if you have questions about this incident, or you have questions about policing regarding this incident, or any questions regarding policing and making arrests like this, let me know, and I will do my best to explain it. And I'm going to explain it here free of emotion and free of opinion. Sometimes opinion kind of sneaks in because it has to do with how the job is done. But what we try to do is we keep it down the middle, and we don't go right, we don't go left, we don't go crazy, we don't go emotional, we don't get radical. We use common sense and logic. So, let's get into it. We're going to watch and make sure I don't miss any comments. A lot of people were like, hey, I made a comment. You didn't address it. I'm doing my best here, folks. Doing my best here. Got limited help. Okay, here we go. So, let's start with the people who said, what does his criminal record, Daunte Wright, what did his criminal record have to do with his death, his being shot, him being killed? The answer is nothing, but the answer is also something. Let me explain. On the basis of what happened, his criminal record had nothing to do with the officer pulling her firearm out instead of her taser and shooting Daunte Wright in the chest. Vehicle ends up traveling down the road, and he ends up dying. What did his past historical criminal record have to do with that incident occurring? And the answer for that specifically is nothing. And the people who say his criminal history or his criminal record has nothing to do with his death are not wrong. They're not wrong. But let me explain why his criminal history and his criminal record influenced this incident and may have resulted in his death. Now, if you want to be radical and you want to just go out and say that had nothing to do with his death, and you want to call me crazy and whatever, fine, be radical. But this isn't the show for you. This is where we remove emotion, and I am going to give you facts. If you don't like facts and you'd rather be emotional and crazy and not listen to facts and evidence, that's fine. Let's talk about a couple of things. And I'm going to explain this based on my experience, okay? Doing the job. For over a decade, I did the job. 13 years, I did the job. Let me explain how this works. If you are on a motor vehicle stop, you go up to the vehicle. So here's how it works. I'm going to try to break this down for all of you who are not police officers, okay? A car goes by and you see a violation. Now, there's some mixed reports about the violation. Some are saying it was the Christmas tree air freshener hanging from the rearview mirror. Others are saying it was expired tags. If you know the facts of this, let me know. I'm just checking in. I want to make sure I don't miss any of these angry commenters. And if you have a question, try to comment. I'll try to catch up to it. You see the violation go by. Now, we're not going to talk about whether the Christmas tree air freshener hanging from your mirror is a stupid violation that cops just use to pull people over that they want to pull over. Some of the people who say that, they're not wrong. And let me tell you something. If a cop looks at me in the face and says that they've never stopped a car that they wanted to stop and used some BS violation that is a valid law on the books to stop the car, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. Every cop has used some motor vehicle equipment violation to stop a car that looked good, that they wanted to stop. It might lead to something else, okay? It might be a good stop, right? A good stop. Because they're out there enforcing motor vehicle violations, but they're really out there looking for what? They're looking for guns, and they're looking for drugs, and they're looking for people with warrants, right? But you need that initial violation to stop the car. You can't just look at someone go by and say, that guy looks like a good guy to stop. Let me just go pull him over. No, you need something. So you need to get creative. Now, there's probably some cops who are probably not going to be like, maybe 100% happy with me admitting this, but any cop, I've talked to, I don't know how many cops over the last few days, and they've all said the same thing. The air freshener, the brake light out, all these silly equipment violations, the tinted license plate cover, they're ways you get to a car to stop, and then you work your narrative from there to try to get into the car to see if there's weapons or drugs or whatever, okay? It is what it is. If you have questions about that, send them in. So now you see a car go by, you see the Christmas tree, whatever, or maybe your license plate reader in your car that automatically reads license plates and tells you when a vehicle tag is expired. It goes off. It goes boop, boop, boop. And it shows a picture of the car that just went by with the expired tag. Okay. And by the way, Misty just said something. Not every state is it illegal to have something hanging from your rearview mirror in your windshield. Not every state. Where I worked, that was illegal. Some states, it's not illegal. You could have whatever hanging from there, whatever you want, right? You could have a real Christmas tree hanging from there. It wouldn't matter. Okay. So, you get behind the car, and you say, this is the car I'm going to stop. They got the air freshener hanging, okay? Whether it's BS reason to stop the car or not, it's a valid legal reason. If you don't like the law, and you live in a state where the Christmas tree air freshener is a violation that the police can stop you for, don't blame the cops. Go to your politicians, sign a petition, and tell them that this is BS, this is garbage, it's just a stupid violation that lets cops pull you over for no reason, and you want it off. Get your signatures and go to your local politicians and tell them you don't want it. Don't blame the cops. It's on the books, not by the cops, by the politicians that you voted for. So go tell them and take it up with them. Okay. So, that being said, you get pulled over. Run the tag. before you pull the car over, you run the tag, right? Because you want to let dispatch know who you're pulling over. Because if you just pull them over, dispatch doesn't know where you are, who you're out with. Now, let's see. Okay, yeah. Well, whether things should hang from the mirror or not, that's not the question. Okay, so now, here's how it goes. You see the car. I'm going to pull this car over. He had the air freshener hanging. Now I get on my car computer, and I'm doing distracted driving, and I'm typing in the license plate into my computer. The license plate comes back valid, invalid, registered owner has a warrant for their arrest, registered owner has suspended driver's license, whatever comes back. Or maybe nothing comes back. It just comes back that the person's just a normal person driving down the road. Okay. Sometimes it comes back to like a female, an older female, and you see a young male driving the car. So you're like, all right, obviously that's not the person who comes up. So the vehicle is registered to someone else. Okay. So I believe in this situation with Daunte Wright, I believe the vehicle was either registered to his mother or his father. I'm not sure which one, but it was not registered to him, apparently. Allegedly, it's from what I'm being told. Once again, if I am wrong on that, please correct me and provide that information. I got a lot of information I'm going to go over. So, you put that in, comes back, okay. So then you get on the radio. You get on the radio and say, okay, you call out your badge number or your ID number, and you say, you know, to headquarters, 123 to headquarters. I'm going to be on a motor vehicle stop with California, tag Charlie Echo X-ray 12 Foxtrot. We're going to be on Highway 414 next to the In-N-Out Burger. Okay. And they'll say 10-4. Okay. So now they know what car you're stopping because you gave them the license plate, and on their end it comes back 1998, you know, Crown, you know, whatever, I don't know, whatever, you know, Ford Taurus, okay, and it comes back color green, registered to, you know, Susie Smith, okay. So they know where you are. They know the vehicle that you're going out with that you just pulled over. Now you exit your vehicle, and now you're walking up to the vehicle. There's maybe a young man driving the vehicle, and it came back to a 50-something-year-old woman. So you're like, okay, so clearly, now, if it comes back to a 50-something-year-old woman, and you look in the car, you look in the side view mirror, and it's a 50-something-year-old woman driving the car, well, then you could pretty much assume that that's the person who you're about to walk up to. Okay, so, but if it's not, now you have no idea who you're walking up to because there's a 20-something-year-old kid in the car and it came back to a 40 or 50-year-old woman. So now you have no idea who you're going up to. Okay, so you go up to the car, you identify yourself, license, registration, insurance. Okay, license, registration, insurance. Young man hands you his license, hands you the registration, hands you insurance. In this case, Daunte Wright did not have his insurance in his vehicle like you're supposed to by law. And that's why he ultimately called his mother and said, there's no insurance in the car. I just got pulled over and I didn't have the insurance to give them. And his mother said, okay, when they come back up, put them on the phone with me. I have the insurance here. I will give them the information that they need. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't fly. You need to have the insurance ID card in the car. If the cop is feeling nice and wants to accept that via the phone, fine. But it's not real. The law says you have to have it in your car. And the police officer has no obligation to get on the phone with your mom before you drive a car. I don't care if you're 18, 25, 35, 45. You need to make sure that there's valid registration and valid insurance in the car. Even if you borrow someone's car, you better make sure everything's valid. Okay? When I get in a rental car, I always look in the rental car. Make sure everything up to date here. Right? I don't care. I want to make sure everything's on the up and up. So, You go ahead and get the person's information. Now, this is a 20-something-year-old kid. It's not the driver, the 50-something-year-old woman that came back. So you go back to your car. And you go back to your car and you say, dispatch, I need a DL check, a driver's license check for validity. And dispatch will say, go ahead. And you say, driver's license number 1234567 Juliet Echo. And you'll wait, and you'll wait, and you'll wait. And finally they'll say, okay, officer so, go ahead. Driver's license, comes back to a Daunte Wright, 20-year-old male, out of this town, out of this address, no points or has points, and They'll give you his information. That's on his driver's license. Driver's license valid? Affirmative. Driver's license valid. No points. No nothing. Okay. Or, as in this case, it appears, officer, yeah, go ahead. Subject Daunte Wright, DOB 10/27/2000, is showing one active warrant for his arrest, warrant number 12345. Now, in this case, they will advise what the warrant is for. And in this case, the officers were advised active outstanding warrant wanted for possession, unlawful possession of a weapon, and fleeing from the police. Now, there are some reports out there, and there's some people spreading false information, that the warrant for his arrest was for aggravated assault and aggravated robbery. And that's not correct. That is not correct. He was out on bond for the aggravated assault and aggravated robbery, and he was awaiting a court date. He ultimately missed a court date, but he missed the court date for that offense, and his probation officer didn't check in. So, I'm going to give you the facts right now. If you want to know the facts, here we go. Okay, so let's go to the facts. So he had, let's see if we can do this. I'm going to try to pull it up. So he had an incident in which he choked a woman and robbed her of $820. Okay? It was a woman whose home him and his friend had stayed over after a late night. And it was, he choked the woman, and the woman, this is the woman's testimony, right? This is the woman's testimony that he choked her and placed his hand around the victim's neck, choked her while trying to pull the cash from under her bra. Defendant Wright then told her that he would shoot her and said, "Give me the money and we will go." Then defendant Wright tried to choke the victim a second time and tried to take her money. Okay? But the warrant that was out for his arrest, that the officers, Officer Potter and her training officer, that day, that when they pulled Daunte Wright over, was not for that. So the people who were saying he had an arrest warrant out for aggravated assault and aggravated robbery for choking this woman and stealing $820 from her, they're wrong. That's a lie. That's not what the warrant was for. The warrant was for an incident which occurred, and a paperwork was issued for it, and it was in June of 2020. And I'm going to read you the charge and the report for that charge of June of 2020. June 30th, 2020 at approximately 16:04. That's 4:04 p.m. Officers Baldo and DePease, Minneapolis police, responded to a call for a person with a gun near 51st and Bryant Avenue North, Minneapolis, Hennepin County, Minnesota. The caller indicated that a light, complexed 17-year-old black male wearing a black shirt and shorts and white shoes was waving a black handgun. The male then got into a white Toyota Camry occupied by 4 people, with the driver wearing a red shirt. Officers located that car, the white Camry, nearby, with the person, defendant herein, Daunte Demetrius Wright, date of birth 10/27/20, matching the description of the person from the caller of the person with the gun, waving the black gun. And that person, Daunte Wright, was sitting in the back seat. Once out of the vehicle, once he was removed from the vehicle by the officers, he ran. Defendant took off running with officers in pursuit and was able to get away, would manage to evade officers. No surprise there. Officers at the scene positively identified defendant from prior interactions. He left behind in the vehicle a loaded .45 Ruger handgun, matching the description of the gun that the original caller called in and said he was waving. Another occupant in the vehicle verified that the defendant, the man who just fled from them, was Daunte Wright. And clearly, it was a gun he ditched. So they issued the warrant for, and the warrant number is, you guys can look it up, 27-C like Charlie, R like Romeo, -21-440-1. Okay? State of Minnesota versus Daunte Demetrius Wright. Misdemeanor warrant. Charge 1, carrying possession of a pistol without permit. Charge 2, fleeing officer by means other than a vehicle. That is the warrant that he had for his arrest when he was pulled over on that fateful day. Officer so-and-so, go ahead, dispatch. Subject Daunte Demetrius Wright, active warrant number 27 Charlie Romeo 21440 for active warrant for unlawful possession of a firearm and fleeing officers. So now the officers in the car look at each other. They probably call for a backup officer. That's why you saw the third officer there that was on the passenger side of the car. And now you have a training officer telling a rookie officer, okay, we got to go back up. We're going to advise him that he has a warrant and he's going to be placed under arrest. Okay? So go ahead. You're going to reapproach the vehicle. You're going to have him step out. Ask him to step out. You always ask him to step out because you want to get them out of the vehicle. You don't want to just go back up while he has his hands on the wheel, ready to put the car in drive, car's running, and be like, hey, listen, man, we got to arrest you. You got a warrant out for your arrest for, unlawful possession of a weapon and running from the police, eluding. He's going to just put the window up and step on the gas and drive away. So what do? You say, hey, man, listen, I need you to step out of the car. And usually they say, what's up? we got to talk. We got to talk. Looks like there's something going on, but no big deal. Just do me a favor, step out of the car. They got him out of the car. Biggest mistake they did was rookie mistake. Clearly, there was a rookie there, but training officer with 26 years on didn't do anything about it. Shame on her. He went to effect the arrest right there with the open door of the patrol car, of the subject's car. Bad move. Keys were in it. It was running. Bad move. Now, both these officers are now approaching this young man with the knowledge that they just received over the radio that he has a warrant for illegal possession of a handgun and for running from the cops. So, let me ask you, if I told you as a civilian, you were just walking down the street, and I said, hey, can you do me? Hey, you, walking your dog. I need your help. You said, okay, what? That man over there, right there, the man over there. He walked away from this nursing home, and you got to get him back. I need your help. Can you help me get him back over there? I mean, he has dementia or something. We got to bring him back. And he said, oh, okay. Okay, so you're going to just go up to the guy and be like, oh, come on, sir. You're probably a little confused. Let's get you back over here. Let's get you back on. You probably just go over very calmly and whatever. But if I came up to you and I said, hey, I need your help. You're like, what's, yeah, sure. See that old man over there? He just left the nursing home. And, he has dementia and we got to get him back. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get run over by a car. And he said, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll help you. Sure, no problem. Just one thing, though. Just so you know, he's done this before. And last time he tried to, put up a fight and ended up, taking off running. And you're like, what? Yeah. And he's also known to, carry knives. He steals a knife from the cafeteria, and he's known to have a knife on him. So just be careful about that, too. You're going to be like, what the hell? What? Yeah, but let's go get him. Your mood is going to be different. Your heart is going to be beating at a different rate. Everything changes once that dispatch tells you that the guy who's sitting in the car in front of you has a warrant out for his arrest for carrying an illegal firearm and also running from the police. You're not going to go back up to that car in the same mood, with the same energy, with the same concerns as you would if they said, yeah, he's all good. He's fine. He's good to go. Because then you're going to go back. You're just going to hand him his license and say you're good to go, or here's your ticket for your air freshener. Or you're not going to go back up if they even said, he has a warrant out for a parking ticket from June of 2020, $115, parking ticket. He's got a warrant. He never showed up to court. Parking violation warrant. That's it, though. You're going to be like, oh, okay. At that point, you just walk back up, and I would just tell people, like, listen, man, did you not pay a parking ticket? And they'll be like, oh, man, yeah. Listen, bro, you got a warrant out. Let's just go back to headquarters, take care of this. We'll pay the warrant. I'll get you back here. I'll give you a ride back to your car. And 100% of the time, people are like, all right, man. Okay. You got $115 on you. You need to stop at ATM, whatever. You try to help them out. Okay. Or you have someone who could bring you $115. We'll pay this warrant, get it cleared out of the court, and get you back to your car. You'll be on your way. I'm not going to tow your car. I'm not going to do anything, right? You try to be cool. At least I did. But when dispatch tells you that this man is wanted on a warrant for having an illegal weapon on him and for running from the cops, you're going up very differently. Now you're on edge. As a rookie, you're probably really on edge. But even as a veteran officer, you're on edge, right? Because no one wants to get shot, right? So you go back up, you get him out of the car, and you're probably already like the nerves are going. Does he have a gun on him now? I don't know. Is he going to try to run again? I don't know. The nerves are going. But you stay relaxed. You get him out of the car. Get him away from that car as far away as you can. That's what you do, and you keep a good hold on him. And get him back to near your patrol car. Watch his hands. Get him away from his car. Watch his hands. Because if the gun's on him, he could pull it. So you just get him out of that car and watch his hands. The backup officer is there as your backup, just in case something goes down. That was not done. I don't care who you are. I don't care how long you've been doing this job. Most of the people watching are not police officers. But I will tell you something right now. When you receive information that the person in the car in front of you that you're about to walk back up to has a warrant for illegal possession of a firearm and for running from the cops, you're going to walk, I don't care who you are, you're walking back up to that car differently. Your mood is different. Your energy is different. Everything's different about you. So for the people who ask, what did his criminal record have to do with him getting shot? That is what? Now, all I'm saying is those officers were now walking back up to that car to engage with that young man and pull him out of that car. Now, you walk up to that car. You don't know if I have a gun in my pants. You don't know if I got a gun right next to me in the seat. You don't know anything. And now you say, I need you to step out of the car. He could pull that gun out and shoot you just like this right through the window. We've seen it happen to cops. It's on video. I'll try to post a link. So you got to go back up very carefully. You're probably a little nervous, right? Most of you would be pooping your pants because you have no idea what's about to happen. You hope nothing happens because you don't want to get shot. And in this day and age, you sure as heck don't want to shoot anyone. So you're going back up there. Now, the officer who was going back up to the car, he was dark-skinned. He looked like he had my complexion. I don't know. I don't know what his background is, but he was pretty dark. So he went back up to the car, and he explained to Daunte that he needed to step out. He got him out. And everything went south as soon as he reached for those handcuffs. Okay. So, to the people who say, what did Daunte Wright's criminal record have to do with him being shot? My initial answer is nothing. Nothing. But I put an asterisk there because his criminal record and his criminal history, which those two officers now knew about walking back up to that car, affected their mood, affected their energy, and surely affected their behavior. I can assure you, Officer Potter's heart rate was already elevated going back up to that vehicle. And when your heart rate is elevated and you get that tunnel vision, a lot of times you don't do things. Training goes out the window, right? I don't know how they carried their tasers. Most of the guys that I talk to, that I've worked with, that I've trained with, have their taser cross their body in a cross draw position, and they have their duty weapon on their strong side in a direct draw. I can't tell you how when you go for your taser, you got to either go here for your gun or you got to go here for your taser. Some officers have the taser cross-mounted here. But either way, it's nowhere near your pistol. Nowhere near your pistol. And typically it's bright yellow, feels a lot different, and if it's a heck of a lot lighter in weight. So I have a hard time wrapping my head around how a 26-year veteran grabbed the wrong weapon to begin with, but then once presented it, didn't even have the wherewithal to realize, like, oh, it's not my taser. And at least went to reholster and disengage. Okay, this guy's going back into his car. He might be going for that gun. He might be going for anything. I don't know. But disengage, create distance. Because he could turn around in a split second and put a bullet in your head. We've seen it happen. Right? So you just create distance. Back away. The other officer, the arresting officer, finally broke. Okay? And you see him, he created distance. You know what his heart rate was, right? I'll probably check his drawers. So the asterisk, what did Daunte Wright's criminal history have to do with him getting shot? A lot of people are angry. They're angry. What did his criminal history have to do with him getting shot? Had nothing to do with that. How dare you bring that up? I'm not bringing it up to defend what that police officer did in any way. In any way. Don't get it twisted. I only bring it up because it affected both officers and the third officer and the backup officer when they went back up to make contact with Mr. Wright. That's why I bring it up. And you better believe it affected them. You better believe it. Also, you better believe that when someone has a warrant for their arrest for possession of a firearm and eluding the police, and they know they're about to get locked up and go to jail, and they don't want to go to jail, you better believe that in those moments, they too are scared, and they too may do irrational things. This is a young man, 20 years old. Think back to when you were 20 years old. Was every decision you made when you were 20 the best one? I don't think so. So before you go ahead and throw this young man under the bus, think about some of the stupid-ish you did when you were 20. He was probably scared. He knew he had a warrant. He was about to get locked up. And he did something stupid. I'm sure if you bring him back today and have him hit that reset button, I'm sure he would probably realize that that was stupid. He should just get locked up. Maybe he thought, well, last time the cops pulled me out of the car and I had a gun on me. Last time they pulled me out of the car, I was able to break free and run away, and I got away. So maybe he was thinking the same thing. Maybe he said, I'm just going to do it again. I don't know. Maybe he was. Maybe he was scared. Was it the right thing to do? Was it the smart thing to do? No. But we've all been scared, and we've all done some stupid stuff in our life when we're scared. I'm by no means justifying what he did. I'm just saying we've all done stupid things when we've been scared and nervous. And guess what? If you've done a stupid thing once and you got away with it, you're most likely going to do a stupid thing again. Because you say, I might get away with it again. I'm not justifying what he did. You should never run from the police. You should never resist arrest. I'm just telling you to just try to think about putting yourself in that young man's shoes. He didn't want to go to jail. He ran from the cops before, and it worked. Maybe that's why he tried it again. The people who say he was scared to get arrested by the cops because because the cops are scary and all that, I don't buy that, right? I don't buy that. The officer that was arresting him was a dark-skinned officer who was being too easy with him and being very cordial, telling him to step out of the car, wasn't being a jerk, wasn't acting aggressive, So he probably, you got to recognize that. All right, this guy's not like a big, scary white police officer who's yelling at me, calling me names and, whatever. Okay, this guy's being nice. Okay. I got to get locked up. Okay. But it didn't go that way. So I hope that explains to you why his criminal record had nothing to do with him getting shot and killed. It didn't. But there's an asterisk there. I need some water. Hydrate, folks. Most of you all are dehydrated. That's why you're not feeling good. Hydrate up. Okay. So now let's talk about, quickly, the other side of the coin. So many people got so defensive when they saw people talking about Daunte Wright's criminal record, his history. These same people were so quick to point out Officer Potter's history. Why is that? What's the difference? I think I swallowed a piece of fur from my police microphone. What's the difference? What's the difference? If you are going to sit there and say Daunte Wright's history doesn't matter in this situation, don't talk about it, leave it out, well, then you also must agree that Officer Potter's history does not matter in this situation. Leave it out. But what you see, of course, is arrested adolescents. You see people saying, don't talk about his record. And literally in the next breath, they're saying, now let's talk about this officer's record. Let's talk about this officer. Back in 2019, she was involved in some shooting. Let's talk about that. George Floyd. No one wanted to talk about his record. So what's his record have to do with him getting a knee on his neck for 9 minutes. I said, you're right. What's his record have to do with that? Nothing. Nothing. Maybe it affected the way the officers approached him. But the reality is, what does his record have to do? People were like, leave his record out of it. And the people who said that, I agree. I agree with them. I said, this guy got murdered. But people were demanding to see the record of Officer Chauvin. And they just kept talking about his record. Do you know he was involved in this many IAs? Do you know he had this many? You know how he had this many write-ups? Do you know he was reprimanded for? People didn't stop. All they wanted to talk about was his record. So which is it, folks? If you're going to tell a story and you want to tell it properly and give the context of all sides of it, there is no shame in giving details that are actual facts. We don't want to make stuff up. But to say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, you make the determination. My feeling is, put the facts out there. If the facts offend you or upset you, that's okay. But the facts are the facts. Nobody is saying because a criminal had a criminal record, they deserve to die. Nobody's saying that. Only crazy people say that. Nobody is saying that because any of these men who we're talking about in this discussion, because they had a criminal record, because they had an extensive criminal history, they deserve to die. Nobody's saying that. Nobody. Even the craziest of the crazy people are not saying he deserved to die because of his record. That's lunacy. Nobody's saying that. What people are saying is that you must look at all of the facts, all of the details, to bring context to the story and to the incident. Like I did earlier, by bringing the context to how his record most likely affected those officers and how they reapproached and engaged with him, and how his record most likely affected his own thinking and possibly altered his own actions that day. Daunte Wright, his own record may have affected his own decision-making that day. If young Daunte got pulled over, that was the first time he'd ever been pulled over by the police. He knew he had no warrants. He knew he had no criminal history. And I'm good. I'm good. I got no warrants. I've never had any run-ins with the cops. I've done nothing wrong besides having my Christmas tree air freshener. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just going to be here. I'm going to be respectful. And that's it. They want to give me a ticket for the air freshener? Okay. But his history, his own history, surely affected his decision-making that day. It would have affected mine. It would have affected yours. You're about to go to jail. You have a warrant for your arrest. You got a decision to make. Are you going to jail or are you going to run again and maybe make it 2 for 2? So his record surely affected his thinking, and it surely affected the mood, the energy, and the actions of the officers. That's what mattered in that moment. Now, if you want to bring in after the fact, if you want to bring in the officer's record, bring it in. Bring it in. Absolutely. Bring it in. Because if that officer has a history of beating people up, shooting people, whatever, you better bring that in. You better bring that up. That better come up in court. You better. Because it matters. Both of their histories matter at this point. Both of their histories are going to now be brought up in court. If you don't think so, you're crazy. Both records. Now, Officer Potter, 2019. Let's see what that is. Let's go to the facts. The facts say that in 2019, Officer Potter was involved in a shooting. However, from what we're seeing, Officer Potter was not the one who actually fired the shot. Apparently, she was the union president at that time. She arrived to the scene in which the officers who were involved in the shooting were there, 2 officers. And when she arrived on scene, she told both officers to not talk to each other, get in separate patrol cars by themselves, and turn off their body camera. That is her history as far as anything related to a shooting or discipline. That's it. That's all we got right now. Maybe more will come out. And if you know more, send it over. But that's what we got right now. So let me explain when I read that, what that is. When a police officer is involved in a shooting, the first thing they tell you is don't talk to anyone. Don't say a word to anyone, because just like when you are a criminal, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So that's why when they say you have the right to remain silent, you should probably remain silent, because anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. That said, when police officers are involved in a shooting, the union president, who's supposedly there to, not all union presidents take care of their guys. Some are scumbags. Some lie to their union members. And some throw their fellow officers right under the bus to help promote their own career. So don't think all cops take care of all cops. But as the union president, she arrived to the scene and she said, both of you don't talk to anyone and don't talk to each other. Because what you don't want is 2 cops trying to figure out what's the story we're going to tell. What are we going to tell? No. You don't give them that opportunity. When you separate them and they can't, join forces and create their story together, they're separated and they never get to talk to each other. Folks, that's a good thing for you. If you are involved in that situation as a civilian, do you want time for the cops as the ambulance is getting there and whatever, and you're the victim? Do you want time for the cops to sit down and huddle up and say, okay, what's the story? What's the story we're going to tell the detectives when they get here? What are we going to say happened? Let's get our story straight. No! What you want is the cops separated in separate cars so they can't talk to each other. So when the detectives come in and the county comes in and the prosecutors come in, they talk to each of them separately and they get the story from each of them. And then they see, okay, do their stories match or are the stories not adding up? And then they go from there. So what Officer Potter did separating them. Don't let them talk to each other. Get them in separate cars. Turn off your body cam. Well, you don't want on record or on a recording you calling your wife saying, "Oh my God, I just shot somebody. I didn't see. It looked like he had a gun. It ended up being a cell phone. Oh my God." You don't want any of that. You don't want any of that on audio tape. So what Officer Potter did in that situation is standard protocol. If Officer Potter did something in that situation that I thought was shady, you better believe I'd call it out. Want to know why? Because I've dealt with shady union presidents. That's why I would call that ish out. But there's nothing shady here. I can't say anything shady here. She did what's protocol. Separate the officers, get them in separate cars, turn off all recording devices, wait for the detectives from the county to show up. That's all we got on Potter right now. 26-year veteran. I don't know why she didn't retire at 25. I'm sure she's wishing she retired at 25 now. And she was a training officer, field training officer, and she was a field training officer that day for the officer who was trying to effect the arrest on Daunte Wright. We don't know his name at this time. And like I said, for people who are asking, questioning, I'm only bringing this up because people were questioning, so I'm responding to the people who asked the question. He was a dark-skinned officer. People are like, why are you bringing up race? People asked. People asked. I got 9 different angles of the video sent to me. The officer had dark skin. People asked, that's the answer. I'm not saying it has to do with anything but whatever. People asked, there you go. There's your answer. He had dark skin. And of course, we know Officer Potter's white. Someone asked me the question earlier in the day. Do you think this would be a national headline if Daunte Wright were white? And he wasn't a young... Well, a lot of people are saying, listen, folks, listen. Let's not get into, picking hairs. Some people out there are like, he's not even black. He's mixed. Listen, folks, we're not going to get into that. A young man is dead. Okay? So let's just go with that. He's dead. His family is grieving, and it's based on a stupid mistake that should have never happened. Anyone who's saying, some people said she was looking to kill a young black man that day. I literally saw people write that. Officer Potter was looking to kill a black man that day, and she got her wish. Clearly those people have mental illness, because a 26-year veteran who's about to retire did not wake up that morning saying, I can't wait to go out today and find a young black boy to shoot so my life can be ruined. I'll lose my pension. I'll lose my home. I'll lose all my money. I'll get death threats. I'll, end up in jail for who knows how long, and my life will be completely ruined. I can't wait. I can't wait. I wonder who it's going to be. Those people who say that Officer Potter was looking to go out and shoot a young black man, there's something wrong with you. And no one is listening to you because you sound like a crazy person. Okay? You sound like a crazy person. So if you're going to comment that, it's just going to be deleted because we don't deal with crazy. Okay? All right. So, that's all the news that's fit to print. We got the main thing taken care of that people wanted to know the answer on. I addressed that. I hope I addressed that. I want to make sure that there aren't more questions here going by. I don't know. A lot of people are asking what was not every age is time and service. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. A lot of people, what was the warrant for? I already went over what the warrant was for. Um, let's see. Oh, so I digressed. I'm sorry, I digressed. Would this be a national headline story if Daunte Wright was a regular white kid, 20-year-old white kid, white all around, not mixed, not black, just white kid? I think we all know the answer. It wouldn't be. We all know the answer. It's. I don't want to say that they're. People will talk. Oh, media agenda. Da, da. Let's leave all of that out, and let's talk about logic and reason, and let's be reasonable. You know, and I know, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's a sad truth, an uncomfortable truth, we all know if Daunte Wright is a young white kid and this happened, shot and killed by a white female police officer, we wouldn't even be here talking. No one would know that boy's name. No one would know that officer's name. No one would know nothing. You and I both know that. Is that an uncomfortable truth? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying that that's the reality. We all know it. Why? Because it's happened. I've seen stories of black officers who have unfortunately had to shoot and kill unarmed black men in very questionable situations, and the story never made national headlines. Why? I think we all know. I think we all know. So let's not go there. That said, I want to make sure that all the questions were answered. I know there's been a lot of them, and I'm trying to do this for you, right? Trying to cover this all for you. But if no one has any other questions, I'm going to move to close, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank everyone for sharing these videos. I want to thank everyone for submitting what they wanted to hear more about. If you have any other questions, leave a comment. Whatever platform you're watching this on, leave a comment. I will do my best to address it. And once again, I'm going to do my best to give it to you straight, without emotion, without crazy, using logic and sense and being reasonable, right? Because that's what we're trying to do here. And that's it. That's all I could do for you folks. I know a lot of you who've never been in police work, never been in a patrol car, never worn a uniform. So you may have some questions. Let's not make assumptions. Just ask the question, and I'll do my best. Let me know. So a lot of people said that they wanted me to cover the incident with the Army lieutenant, the black Army lieutenant who was stopped by the two white police officers after being pursued for about a mile and a half. And that incident, which is also kind of being drowned out by the Daunte Wright incident. I will address that. I just received new information and new video on that I will post in the post-production of that video. So stay tuned for that. I want to make sure I cover all the questions. So, a lot of people, let me ask this. Some people said that, brought up some of the social media posts that Daunte Wright made, where he was pointing a gun, on video and flashing a gun and all that stuff. That has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do with this situation. So anyone trying to alter the reality of this situation by posting photos of Daunte flailing a gun around on Facebook or on Snapchat or whatever that was, that has nothing to do with this situation. Was it a poor choice by him? Yes. Should you be on social media waving a gun around? No. However, that has no bearing on what happened to him, because the police officers did not know about that. They were not apprised of that. That was not part of their knowledge. So all you people out there who are posting photos of him waving guns around and all that stuff, stop. The kid's dead. He was a kid. He did some stupid stuff. But that, the social media stuff, is completely unrelated. So that's not cool. He has a mom and he has a dad that are grieving right now. Okay? So let's be humane. And let's be good human beings. This is a crap situation all around. And it's a sad one. I'm going to end on this. Over 10 million people are arrested in the United States every year. When you break that down, carry the one, that is every 3 seconds, roughly. Every 3 seconds, someone is being arrested in this country. Think about that for a second. Every 3 seconds, somebody in the United States is placed under arrest. Over nearly 10.5 million a year. Now, put that number up against the number of incidents that you actually hear about in the news. Every 3 seconds. The media doesn't like to tell you that number, because if they did, it might make people realize that the number of times something goes bad, goes wrong, intentional or not intentional, the number of times something goes bad, goes wrong during the course of an arrest, a lawful arrest, is so minuscule, it's hard to even fathom. It's hard to fathom that every 3 seconds, roughly, or let's call it what the FBI says, about 10.5 million arrests a year. And yet, you have a small handful of incidents every year that only involve, that you only hear about if the police officer is one color and the suspect is another color. Those are the only ones you hear about. You don't even hear about the other ones, right? That means you have an incredible amount. Oh, now, because we're talking about this situation, let's relate it to this situation, not in total. But you have an incredible amount of young black men that are arrested every year, every month, every week, every day, every hour, every second. That do not resist arrest. Do not run. Do not fight. Go to jail and ultimately go home to their family. But you'll never hear that number put up against the number of incidents that go wrong. You'll never see that number presented to you Because if it was, it might make you say, well, this is not some major epidemic. This is clearly, although one is too many, I agree, this is clearly not the epidemic that it's being made out to be. Do people need to see that number and kind of chew on it for a second before they rush to judgment? I think so. Do we have a problem, an issue with how young men of color, young women of color, are treated by the police and our legal system in this country? I think we do. Is it at the massive scale that the media and others would like you to think it is? No, it's not. It's not. And the numbers provide, that's not my opinion. The numbers and the facts and the evidence support that. I'm not saying it's not a problem, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying it's not what it's being made out to be. Every 3 seconds, 10.5 million arrests a year. Think about that. Just think about that. Now, to the family of someone like Daunte Wright, they don't care. They don't care if out of the 10.5 million arrests, one ended up with someone dead. They don't care. That one is their baby. So it matters to them. Think about that. A problem, yes. A major problem to the loved ones and the families left behind. Because to them, that's the only one that matters. Let's address the problem, but let's also be real about the severity of it and look at the whole picture. You owe it to yourself to be honest with yourself and look at all the facts and all the numbers. You owe it to yourself to ask why, when a black police officer shoots and kills an unarmed black man, you don't hear about it. You owe it to yourself to ask those questions and get those answers. Because if you're going to be concerned about what's happening on the one side, but you have no concern about when it's happening on the other side, one can question what your true intentions are and what your agenda is. So start looking at all the numbers, start looking at all the facts, and start looking at all the incidents. Because it shouldn't matter the race of the officer if an unarmed black man is killed. It shouldn't matter. That's someone who still lost their baby. The only thing that should matter is someone unarmed was killed. That's what should matter. But if to you it only matters if the officer had light skin, and to you it doesn't matter if the officer has dark skin, I'm going to look at you and question if you actually care. Think about that. Until next time, thank you for watching. Share this, check out the other videos, and if you have questions, Let me know. If you have educated, reasonable comments, let me know, and we will address them here on the podcast. Until next time, be safe, be smart, think before you act, and realize your life matters. Be smart. No one needs to be a hero. Take a deep breath. Count to 10. Do the thing that you know is the right thing. And know that everything will work out. That's it. Take care.